Proxy substitution as a structural governance failure describes a structural condition in which a proxy stops pointing to the thing it was meant to represent and becomes the object of governance itself. The central distinction is simple. A proxy is not the referent. A metric is not the condition. A model output is not the world it represents. Complex systems need proxies. Institutions, platforms, organizations, and AI-mediated systems rely on indicators, scores, dashboards, benchmarks, models, reports, and delegated signals. This is not a flaw, it is a structural necessity. A proxy reduces dimensionality. It makes something comparable, measurable, optimizable, and actionable. But the same reduction that makes governance possible also creates a failure condition. Proxy substitution occurs when the system stops using the proxy to maintain contact with the referent and begins treating the proxy as the primary reality. At first, the proxy is only a representation. Then it becomes a reference point. Then it becomes a condition for evaluation. Then it becomes a target of optimization. At that point, the system is no longer asking whether the proxy still points outward. It is asking whether the proxy improves, stabilizes, complies, or remains legible. Representation becomes replacement. This failure does not require bad faith. Proxy substitution can occur under technical accuracy, procedural compliance, institutional legitimacy, and sincere intention. The failure is not that the proxy is always false. The failure is that the system becomes oriented toward the proxy instead of the condition the proxy was supposed to help govern. In this condition, the proxy still functions. That is part of the danger. Proxy substitution is often stable because the proxy provides coherence. It gives the system something to measure, compare, reward, and defend. But manageability is not referential adequacy. Proxy substitution is different from ordinary error. Error means the proxy is inaccurate. Bias means the proxy systematically distorts. Gaming means actors manipulate the proxy. Proxy substitution means the proxy has become the object of governance. The system may continue to operate even when the original referent has receded from view. The question is no longer only whether the proxy is correct. The question is whether the system can still distinguish the proxy from what it represents. When that distinction weakens, governance becomes closed around its own representation. The system consults the proxy to understand reality, treats proxy improvement as progress, and treats proxy stability as success. The referent becomes harder to re-enter. This produces proxy collapse. Proxy collapse is the terminal condition in which the original referent can no longer be reconstructed, accessed, or governed outside the proxy. The system remains coherent, but it becomes brittle. It cannot respond well to conditions, evidence, or repair needs that the proxy has made invisible. AI-mediated systems intensify this condition because they can stabilize proxies at scale. Once judgment is encoded into models, proxies gain persistence, representations gain authority, and optimization improves the surface already trusted. This is not only algorithmic bias, it is representational inertia. The model does not reject proxies, it rejects the disappearance of the proxy referent boundary. The minimal formulation is this. Proxy substitution occurs when representation stops serving reference and begins replacing it. Naming declaration. The proxy substitution as a structural governance failure model originates within meta-writing ecology as a structural model describing how proxies, indicators, metrics, models, representations, or delegated signals can become substitutes for the reference they were meant to support. Here, proxy means any symbolic or operational construct that stands in for a more complex, distributed, or inaccessible referent. Substitution means a structural inversion in which the proxy becomes a primary object of governance, evaluation, optimization, or accountability. Proxy collapse means the terminal condition in which the original referent becomes structurally inaccessible after prolonged substitution. This model is not derived from principal agent theory, performance management, AI alignment, organizational control, metric governance, or policy evaluation literature. These fields may intersect with it, but they do not define its bloodline. The model belongs to meta-writing ecology as a structural account of representation becoming replacement.